We're diving deeper into your Xcel bills, asking the company whether there are any costs that don't just get passed on to you. Denver leaders are expected to advance development plans for the Park Hill Golf Course tonight, right as sketchy mailers attacking an opponent hit mailboxes. In the middle of the school year, a first day for students who have completed a long journey to get here.
So this morning we are welcoming about 20 new students from Venezuela.
Hard numbers show the drastic increase in people coming into Colorado for abortion services. And hundreds of neighbors remember a man who made an impact just by being nice to kids. All that tonight on Next.
If there is one thing Coloradans can agree on, it's that Xcel energy bills are out of control. Double, triple what people saw this time last year. We went line by line through all of the obscure add-on charges, and you can find that story on 9news.com. Our Marshall Zellinger returns tonight with a look at why some of those charges exist.
The biggest charges on your Xcel bill are the cost of generating and using electricity and natural gas. Here is the short answer as to why you're paying so much for natural gas. The left side shows the cost Xcel paid last year. The right side shows the recent prices paid by Xcel that are then passed down dollar for dollar to us. So I asked Xcel Regional Vice President Jack Eiley why Xcel does not bear any risk for not planning better, like buying and storing gas when it was less expensive.
Isn't that the risk of stockholders? Like, oops, it was really cold in December. Our customers used a lot of energy to heat their homes. We're going to miss out on some money that we thought we were going to have.
On these fuel costs pass-throughs, and that's what we call them because we earn zero profit. We make zero margin on those. We don't make money on those, so we pass those through to customers. So it's essential for the financial health of the company to not bear a liability for something that it earns no profit on.
There are other line items on our bills that add up over time, like the first line on both gas and electric.
On the first charge, service and facility, like at some point, haven't I paid off the equipment that's on my home? Or like I heard I'm paying for the customer service. Well, isn't that an expensive Xcel? Like, why am I paying for Xcel to employ customer service through this service and facility charge?
It's partially capital, meaning the cost of the meters. Those depreciate over time. They need to be replaced. It's average across all the customers. So every year we're going to replace new meters. The cost to maintain the support systems like customer care accounts, that's ongoing as well. That doesn't come for free to us, and so we do seek to recover those costs from customers.
He also pointed out the smaller items on the bill, charges we pay so Xcel can provide renewable energy programs, or rebates for electric vehicle charging stations at our home, or the charge to pay Xcel back for retiring coal plants early.
Why does the customer have to pay for that? Viewers are asking, like, what's Xcel's risk? Doesn't Xcel spend money? We heard a lot about, well, Xcel spent this and customers pay it back.
Yeah.
Why am I paying?
Xcel has been driven, by a lot of directives from the Colorado legislature, for instance, to do things like promote electric vehicle adoption and promote distributed renewable energy adoption and promote energy efficiency. So often that is directed by the Colorado legislature.
Okay, so is it the state legislature's fault that we are nickel and dime so Xcel can offer rebates, programs, and shut down plants earlier than anticipated? I asked Democratic Senate President Steve Fenberg, who focuses on energy policy.
When a company like Xcel says, wow, our utility rates are going up because the legislature made us do all these renewable things, I think that's baloney, because transitioning to renewables should be actually a cost-saving measure. But of course, a for-profit, publicly traded, huge company is always going to find ways to make money off of every investment they make. That is their job. But we have to do a better job as a legislature to hold their feet to the fire and make sure that ratepayers are being looked out for.
I should point out again that there is a Public Utilities Commission, 3 commissioners that hear requests from Xcel to put things on our bills that get approved. We got a lot of viewer feedback from our story explaining what's on your Xcel bill. One viewer was frustrated that customer service couldn't tell them if they were better off with the time of use rates or if they opted out and just paid a flat rate. In the last hour, Kyle, I got a response back from Xcel on how we can try to calculate which one is best. So I know I'm teasing ahead to another story in the future, but this one will be helpful to do some math to figure out which one will save you the most money.
I think, Marshall, everybody gets the idea that companies are going to pass along costs to
customers. And I think everybody gets that government mandates can increase a company's costs, and that can get passed on to customers. But if this was a sandwich shop that had more expensive salami and they decided not to trim their profits, but instead just raise the price of their sandwiches, eventually another sandwich company would open up across the street and sell a cheaper sandwich.
True. Yeah, you need the competition. And Senator Fenberg and I talked about that there is, like, you need, if you're Chipotle, he used that example, you've got Qdoba, or you got the burger place they're making decisions that impact your decision. But if you're the only player in town, and currently I believe it would be illegal for any other player unless there is a state law change, Xcel is the one that can do what it wants with the approval of those 3 public utility commissioners.
They are the game right now. Marshall, thank you. Denver City Council is expected to move forward with development plans for the Park Hill Golf Course open space tonight over the objections of some neighbors. The Hancock administration and developers are behind a plan to develop part of that property and then leave part of it as open space. Westside Investment Partners, the developer, has openly mocked neighbors who have asked that the entire 155 acres be preserved as open space, compared their plans to child's drawings. Groups in favor of the development have said that Denver needs more housing stock, a lot more in the park.
We know that the demand in Denver for park space is critical. And so it makes no sense to prioritize developing green space when there's already development available properties right across the street.
That this is what's necessary in order to create a new model for development for the city, the state, and frankly, for the country. And it's worth putting in the effort to do something unique and innovative.
Opponents previously passed a ballot measure that's going to require this development plan to go to a citywide vote. Backers are going to try tonight to put it on April's ballot. The most outspoken opponent of the development plan on council is Candy Cidabacca, and she's now the target of an attack ad that's been mailed to voters across the city. The mailer is anonymous, and the Denver clerk's office is investigating whether it's a violation of campaign finance laws. The flyers accuse Cidabacca of opposing affordable housing. There's no disclaimer on who sent this. There's no return address that would identify who paid for the attack ad. Cidabacca is suspicious of the timing of these mailers coming out right before the Park Hill development vote.
It dawned on me that there's a very important vote happening tonight, and it's perfectly aligned with the messaging that would make sense from the opposition. I think that it's somehow affiliated with Westside Development Partners, the developers who are trying to develop Park Hill Golf Course.
A spokesman for Westside straight up denied that the developer or its PR firm are behind these mailers. It's not clear that an anonymous mailer like that would actually be a violation of the law. So the clerk's office is looking into it. They have jurisdiction here, not the Secretary of State. The reason why we say it might not be a violation of the law, the mailers don't include a call to action like vote for this person or vote against that idea. And the strictest rules on electioneering don't kick in until 60 days before the election. Today was the first day of school for about 20 students at Cole Arts and Sciences Academy, an elementary school in Denver. They're new to Colorado and this country. Their families migrated here from Venezuela. The school asked us not to show the students' faces or talk to them out of fear of retaliation against those families. So our Katie Eastman spoke with the people who are welcoming them to their new home.
The first day of school brings new possibilities.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Alejandra Berdamo can't contain it.
Yeah.
Nervous energy that Gael Velasquez feels too.
Because I might make new friends.
But it's not their first day.
I think they're from Venezuela, I think.
Of the more than 4,000 migrants who have arrived in Denver since December, 17 of them are starting elementary school here at Cole Arts and Sciences Academy.
Half of our school are native Spanish speakers, and each grade level they get a little bit more exposure to English. So by the time they finish school, we're hoping that they're on path to be biliterate by the time that they graduate high school.
Even if the teacher doesn't speak Spanish, there will be a student like Gael to help.
My friend, he's also from Venezuela. He came this year, and every time he doesn't understand something, I tell him what the teacher is saying.
And when it gets frustrating,
I'm from Honduras.
There will be a student like Alejandra who understands.
But for me, it was really difficult to start learning the language and communicating.
The new students have a lot to learn. But the students already here can't wait to be taught by them, too.
I really want to talk about her country because I really want to know about all the Latin American countries.
I could start helping them how to do things, and by helping them, I could understand more.
For Next, I'm Katie Eastman.
Bunch of kind kids. Some kind teachers at Cole, who are actually from Venezuela, made arepas for breakfast to welcome those students today. Venezuelans coming to the U.S. these days no longer have special protections that they used to have because of violence and turmoil in their country. Colorado's Democratic senators are asking the Biden administration today to bring back those immigration protections for the thousands of Venezuelans arriving in Denver and across the U.S. Senators Michael Bennet and John Hickenlooper want a federal extension of what's called temporary protected status. You might have heard this called TPS. TPS would provide protections for asylum seekers from Venezuela, things like travel authorizations and employment permits. Venezuelans have not been eligible for temporary protected status since the middle of last year. Bennet and Hickenlooper are asking the Department of Homeland Security to make that declaration retroactive, so it would apply to the migrants who recently came here. Every Monday, I have the joy of sharing what you did for our neighbors last week. Most recently, you raised more than $17,000 for A Little Help, a nonprofit that connects volunteers across our state with seniors who could use a hand with things like snow shoveling, yard work, grocery runs, transportation to appointment, things like that. They background check everybody, and then they connect people in need of help with somebody nearby who can provide it. Your Word of Thanks microgiving campaigns have now raised more than $10 million for nonprofits across Colorado. A lot of our giving campaigns are based on your recommendations, so please keep them coming. Email ideas of great nonprofits to next@9news.com. Thank you.
Abortion rights activists in Colorado are flooded with out-of-state requests for help.
So they started calling states like Colorado to try to get abortion access where they could.
And tributes pour in for a guy who's a fixture in Aurora just because of his somewhat unusual habit: golfing in his yard. That's next. The quite predictable result of the Supreme Court striking down Roe v. Wade has been abortion patients coming into Colorado in droves. We know the medical providers and abortion access advocates have been stepping in to fill those gaps. The Cobalt Abortion Fund, a donor-funded organization helping women access abortion services, put out its annual spending report today. Cobalt provides funding for abortion procedures, and they say that spending has more than doubled since 2021. But they're spending on what they call practical support, travel expenses for out-of-state patients. That spending has increased 30 times over. Cobalt spent about $6,000 on practical support in 2021. Last year, more than $221,000.
We had only done really piecemeal travel support in the past. There were other organizations, particularly some in restricted states, who could help their clients travel to Colorado, and then we would sort of pick up the missing pieces once they got here, knowing that was not going to be a possibility moving forward because most abortion access funds like ours in states like Texas did have to shut their doors and stop assisting clients because they wanted to protect their staff, and justifiably so. So we made the decision to sort of pick up that slack.
Cobalt's abortion fund director there, Amanda Carlson, says more than 2/3 of the out-of-state patients are from Texas, where abortion's banned and providing abortion services is a felony. Colorado's health department estimates that more than 800 Texans have come to Colorado for abortions within the last year. And Cobalt says they think that demand is going to continue this year because there's not likely to be a federal abortion rights bill as long as Republicans control the House.
And a quick check of your forecast on this chilly Monday. High temperatures only made it into the 30s yet again, making for another day with below average temperatures. Wind speeds pretty impressive too, anywhere between 10 to 15 miles per hour in Denver. Of course, that's coming out of the south right now. Currently in the upper teens and lower 20s. Another chilly evening is something we get to look forward to. Overnight low temperatures dropping back down into the middle teens. Look at Gunnison at -1 degree. Same thing goes for Leadville at around 1 degree Fahrenheit. Very, very chilly up in the high country. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, high temperatures for tomorrow are going to be chilly yet again, upper 20s and lower 30s, so still anywhere between 8 to 10 degrees below average for this time of the year. As we head from this evening through tomorrow morning, we could be seeing a few flurries early, but a lot of that snowfall, and it's not going to be a whole lot, stays out towards the west and down towards the south and central portion of the state. Maybe another round of flurries early Wednesday morning, not going to be causing any problems on the roadways, but it just seems like the flurries are going to be continuing through Wednesday morning into Wednesday afternoon and even Wednesday evening. 7-day forecast showing those conditions staying on the colder side of things in the middle 30s on Thursday, finally making it into the 40s on Friday very briefly, and then extremely cold conditions by the beginning of next week. We're talking high temperatures only in the teens.
He was a famous golfer unlike any other. Famous not for his golf skills, but for his kindness. Neighbors in Aurora talk about his impact next. It's a little odd doing an obituary by request, but so many of you wrote in asking if we would remember a man named George Agee. There's a good chance you might have glimpsed George, even if you never knew his name. He was the guy who golfed in his backyard at 6th and Potomac in Aurora. Did it for decades, even made the news over it once, and made a whole lot of kids at the nearby elementary school smile for his odd hobby and the fact that he'd hand him a golf ball.
There's 100,000 balls that the public can grab.
George was just a neighbor that lived right across from us in the elementary school.
There we go.
He was a really neat guy. Every day when we would come out here at recess, he would throw some balls at us, some golf balls. We loved getting them, and I think he enjoyed watching us as well, clamoring for them, and it was always a big treat for us. My name is Dan Khatam. I lived here in the neighborhood as a boy, and I went to this elementary school right across the way. I subscribed to a Facebook group. It's about nostalgia in the city of Aurora. It was a post that was commented on a lot, and so it showed up in my feed, and I started reading the comments, and that's when I realized that George passed away.
That out of bounds on the right is 6th Avenue. Keen-eyed George hasn't whacked any motorists through the years, so maybe it's that new apartment complex across the street that brought the friendly request to cease and desist.
He just seemed like a really, really good guy, and definitely missed in the neighborhood.
And I've been here 18 years, and I haven't had any problem, but I don't want to upset the city fathers.
It was all, small little impacts, but it was to so many of us.
Yeah, that's for the photographer. He does such a good job. Nothing wrong with that, Bo.
I really wish, that his family realizes how much of a nice and genuine, kind guy he was.
Oh, a lovely tribute. And an assist there from our long-ago colleague, Jim Beneman, if you recognize the voice. Going sledding without slopes. It's the most Colorado thing we saw today. That and your feedback next. Sledding without slopes. It's the most Colorado thing we've seen today. Christy Stelp shared this photo from Granada. No sledding hill? Yeah, no problem. Just pull the kids with the tractor. That's good stuff. Good, clean fun on the farm. If you see something that looks like Colorado to you, send it to us. Email next@9news.com or use the hashtag HeyNext. Oh my goodness, the feedback on this Xcel billing story. Lori says, Kyle Clark out here doing the Lord's work. No, it's technically Marshall Zellinger who is doing the Lord's work. I'm just here to talk to him about it. Vivian says, thanks for doing this. It doesn't make it any easier to pay the bills, but at least the company is watching. And here comes Carrie off the top rope with, as my father-in-law used to say, the citizens of Colorado need a PUC because Xcel already owns one. I probably can get an email for reading that one aloud. David Molden says, you're such a positive, smart, young guy. I feel like he's pinching my cheeks. My wife and I think you should run for president. David, there are a lot of miserable jobs in the world, but that one could be the absolute worst. Let's stay here and keep doing this. I will see you next time.